Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the J in Life class series. This is week number 8. We made it all the way to week number 8. I'm excited, I'm grateful, and I am really looking forward to tonight's class in particular. We have an amazing lineup for you as usual. Last week was epic, this week is going to be epicer. So please come on into the space, make yourselves comfy, grab a cushion, grab some tea, some wine, whatever you do, get comfy, call your friend and tell him life class is on, and we're talking about dating this evening, right? As per usual, we have a couple housekeeping matters. Let me get them out of the way before we get into our juicy conversation on tonight's class. I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and I'm going to ask you all to just confirm that you can see in the chat. Just let me know that you can. So our topic for tonight's class is socially distant dating, love during a pandemic. Yes? So you know it's going to be a very juicy conversation. And to bring the juicy conversation to you, I'm going to be your host. I'm Kamala McWhinney. I'm a therapist and coach. And you can connect with me on Instagram, on social media at White Lotus Blooms. We also are excited to have with us tonight 3 stellar panelists in the form or in the persons of Carla Moore, the energetic Carla Moore. Carla, could you please welcome yourself onto the stage first, please, and thanks. Welcome back. She was with us for the first class in season 2, and yes, she was with us for season 1 also. And Carla brings the goods every single time. So Carla is a life coach, artist, activist, academic, and alchemist. Yes.
Yes.
We also have the lone gentleman in our space this evening, Karim Ellis. Welcome, Karim. He is a sales professional and a podcaster, and his podcast is called Men's Truth, right? And he does this podcast with 2 of his other bros, one of whom was Stefan Campbell, who was our guest last week. Yeah, so check out the podcast and check out Karim tonight. And we also have Dr. Shelly-Ann, who is the executive director of the HerFlow Foundation, right? And she goes by the moniker Dr. Sexy-Ann. So you know what's up on tonight's class, yeah? So I can stop sharing slide now.
Hello, good evening. I am not a doctor yet, but I'm working on it.
Coming up soon. And for our wonderful, amazing, absolutely beautiful J in Life class family, who join us every single week. We're just reminding you that we have the chat feature where you can drop your emojis and your truth bombs and all these things. We also have the raise hand feature for you to put up your hand if you want to come on stage and ask our panelists any questions. And of course, we have the Q&A box specifically for questions for the panelists. If you don't want to come on the stage or on the microphone, or you want to ask a question, put it in the Q&A box, all right? And that concludes our housekeeping conversation for tonight. So we're going right into the meat of the matter. We're talking about dating, Karim, Carla, and Shelly-Ann, yeah? And the first thing I want us to do for the first segment is discuss to date or not to date. Because I feel like it's very important for us to figure out if we're ready to jump into that space. But before we start running the good stuff, let us launch our pre-class poll. We want to get a sense of how you are doing, what you're expecting from class, etc. So I'm going to ask our tech team to launch the poll so that we can, survey the room and see what's going on. I'm asking as many of you as possible to go ahead and respond to it. And then I'll read the responses in a little bit, yeah? But let me jump over to Lady Carla. Carla, to date or not to date, do you have like a checklist, Carla, in terms of whether or not you're ready to move on from the last dating space to start dating again? Talk to us, please, and thank you.
Thank you. So great question, and a question that we don't ask often enough. I think a lot of us just kind of fling ourselves into the dating space, and we figure that, oh, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm ready to date. Wrong. You is not ready to date. Some of you are not ready, right? As you know, one of the things is I've been deliberately single on purpose, intentionally single for a while, because there are some things that I needed to sort out between me and me before I invited anybody else into the space. I suggest for people, if after you get out of a relationship, especially if it was rough towards the end, spend some time with yourself and make sure a couple things. One, ensure that you can recognize when you are projecting issues from the previous relationship onto a new person. Right?
We start off so
strong, like yam. Right. Figure that out, because there's a way that, and here's one way that I check it. I watch movies like romantic comedies, and I see what I assume the person is thinking or what they will do next. And if I see myself, I come up with some like a toxic scenario in my head, I'm like, boo, no, you still have some very, very wild assumptions in your head, right? The other thing is, like, am I actually in a space where I want to be sharing myself with a person? Am I in a space where I want to be considering another person when I'm making my decisions? Because if you're dating and you're dating with the aim of a long-term relationship, yes, it's you is going to be thinking as two. Sometimes you just want to think as one right now. People will call it your selfish phase. Some people will call it your self-focused phase. But you really have to check in with them thing there. And the third thing that I would say to figure out before you get comfortable dating is, am I willing to be vulnerable again? Am I willing to be vulnerable again? Given all the things that have happened to me in the past, am I willing to make a soft spot where somebody else can connect with me? Because if not, maybe the tier 3 dating is not for you. Perhaps you can date on tier 1 and tier 2, but tier 3, which is where you're going to carry people to your family and merge life with them, it's not for you, darling. You is not there. No shame. You is just not there.
Not ready.
No.
So Carla, so 2 things that jump out loud as you were talking. Number 1, it's not automatic that we all should be dating in order to have the healthiest relationship spaces. It's not automatic. Not because we're alive and we're adults mean that we should be stepping into dating. That's one, which I think is already a whiplash moment for many people. Like, excuse you, I pay my bills, I turn my own key, I'm ready, right?
I'm grown.
Number 2 is that the checklist that you start off, Carla, I love it. Number 1 is, if you're still bringing anything from the past relationship and projecting it onto this space, it's like a big flashing red light that maybe I'm not ready yet. And I love how you ended your fabulous intro into the space by saying no shame, no judgment, right? But we just might not be ready, right?
And that's okay. It's fine.
That's okay. I'm going to stick a big red pin right there. That's it. Dr. Shelly-Ann, like she gearing up. She ready, right? But give me 1 second. Let me launch the results of our poll. And then I jump over to Karim and then come to Shelly-Ann. All right. So here we go, everybody. Your current mood, 55% of you are okay, 36% are happy, and 5% are feeling ecstatic. I want to know who these 5% people are, because I like them, right? Question 2 was, has social distance affected your comfort with dating? 41% of you said yes, 23% kind of ish, and 36% of you are like, I'm good same way, yeah? The third one, I have experience with dating virtually or being in a long distance relationship. About 59% of you said yes, and 41% of you said no. And I'm curious as to why the ones who said no have not given it a go. I'd love to hear in the comments if you're open to sharing. The fourth one, what is the biggest challenge you have faced in the dating space? Hear this one now, everybody. 39% of you said building trust in the early stages, and we're going to talk about that tonight for sure. 23% of you say managing how much to share about yourself, so self-disclosure, which I think is connected, as Carla said, to vulnerability. Yeah. 7% of you said negotiating sex, and 32% of you said communication. So the big 2 are building trust early out and communicating. And the 5th question, final question, what are you expecting from class? 50% of you want to know how to manage the dating online or the long distance story. 27% of you want tips on how to choose whom you should be dating. And 23% of you practical advice on how to manage sexual issues in the dating space. Some like it. And Karim, are you ready to deliver on these big ticket items for tonight's class? Karim.
Yeah, sure.
You ready? As this single gentleman in our midst tonight, when Carla started talking a while ago about not automatically assuming that we're ready to date, is this a thing for men? I know you can't speak for every single man, obviously, but is this something that you've heard in the streets among your bros?
I mean, us men tend to look at dating differently. I don't even really think we call it dating, to be honest with you. But I agree with everything that Carla said, 100%. The only thing I really have to add to that is both for men and women, when you're actually in this space, don't go looking for yourself in somebody else. Another thing is also be very honest of what you're actually going out there to look for. If you're looking for sex or you're looking for some fling or a short-term thing, get that out of the way early. Don't lead the person on thinking that they're going to have this long-lasting relationship or that's what they're looking for when all you want is 5 minutes of fame. You understand? So get it out there straight and also be comfortable and be open in a sense that you might not get what you want out there and be perfectly fine and be open to rejection because rejection is out there and just keep it moving. That's one of the big things. I mean, a lot of people tend to get hung up on being rejected. There are how much billion people in the world. You're not the only one I can talk to. So that's another thing, you know.
Wow, the panelists them come out strong this evening. Karim said, be open, be okay, just in case rejection reach you. And you know, as Karim was talking, I'm reflecting, Shelly-Ann, on the fact that I don't know if we think about how often men are rejected by virtue of the fact that men are tasked in many cultures with putting the advance to the partner. And by like me tell enough man no, like in the streets, like, sir, back up, right? And I don't know if we stop to think about the fact that men have to experience this on a regular, just by virtue of how we set up, you know, the dating games or the dating space. Shelly-Ann Weeks, to date or not to date, what are your checklist items, if you have any, for how to figure out if it is that you are ready to date?
Boy, Karim said something a while ago, and I almost got into spirit. You know, when you introduced the whole idea of rejection. And to answer your question, as far as rejection goes, men expect to be rejected from certain type of women. They know that they're batting way above their station. And when they approach somebody like you, they expect you to reject them. They're usually surprised when you don't. They're like, okay, you kind of throw them off. They're not sure what to do that you have not rejected them. They kind of come at you expecting the rejection. So I think that's a little bit of it. But I think Carla covered most of what I would have said, because I think the self-conversation is so important, because a lot of the times we go trying to find things that we are supposed to take care of ourselves in other people. And that is where we have a lot of problems, because that person cannot fulfill some of the needs that you have. And you really have to examine self and ensure that you're in a position to not only receive, but also give. You can't just expect to go into a relationship just getting you have to come with some way to give to this person who's going to come to you. So you can go in there saying, well, you know, they need to be tall and have good teeth and good hygiene and you know, don't have no corn on them toe and all of these things. But what is it that you are coming to the table with? What is it about you that person with all that meets all the criteria that you have? When they look at you, do they see in you what they are looking for? So I think the self-conversation is so important, because that is going to set the foundation on whatever you're going to build, whether it's a 15 minutes of frame to borrow Karim's reference, or it's a longer movie. It could be a 10-part miniseries. I'm just saying, you know, it all depends on who are you, and are you someone who can be the things that other person is looking for in you as well. So you have to consider that too.
I feel like the panelists might think we all colluded, right? That we all plan out for come for them tonight, because I find that everybody is just on the same page in terms of doing the self-work. Now, Carla, last week, Dr. Karim Carpenter, Stefan Campbell jumped on and then went with a bag of things, and Kingsley Morgan, and they spoke a bag of things last week about the self-work and about holding ourselves accountable.
Yes.
And I said at some point that the self-work is not sexy. Like, I feel like when you hear that JN having a life class on dating, I feel like people come with notebooks to hear about how we can get a person into my life, into my phone book. You understand? how I can start to go out in the streets often in a corona time. And everybody keep coming and talking about this whole heap of unsexy self-work. Carla, because you have been vulnerable and owning your journey by saying, I have been intentionally single for a minute.
Yeah.
Carla, tell the honest truth now. The self-work really make a difference? Like it's that important?
Yes, it's important. And let I tell you why. Some of you know on a date, and let me include some of we.
Yes,
we
please.
date lawyer, doctor, Indian chief.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we still have the same basic experiences in our relationships. Somehow, even though the person did start off seeming to be very faithful, we end up getting burned. Somehow, even though the person seemed to start off being very ambitious, all of a sudden, yeah, mind them. Somehow, regardless of whether it is you're talking to Gianna or a bank manager, you keep having the same experience in your relationships, and you wonder why God don't like me, why you don't like to go and do self-work.
Listen.
Please take God's name out of your mouth. This is not God's fault. God have other things to deal with. Yemen is suffering. God don't have to deal with this one. That's self-work, right? Because how can I go out looking for somebody and me not know what me want? Me not know what me want. Why don't I know what I want? Well, I started off trying to model my parents' relationship, or I started off trying to not model it because that relationship failed.
Yes.
I started off trying to date the boy that was hot in high school. He's now having a top ranking position at SSL, and I am now anti-capitalist, but afraid because the type of man when me want to date with is not the type of man where the girl that when me used to par with in high school want to date with. It's not a hot girl, some hair.
Carla, stick to pin. Can we just interject a disclaimer that the SSL reference was an example?
Right. Sorry, it's just an example. It's not like an endorsement. It's also because where the people I went to high school with end up working. Some of them over here.
But just to be clear, that we're not talking about anybody.
Just to be clear, we're not talking about anybody specifically, right?
And Carla, Carla,
I'm not calling anybody else's names. So you end up in all of these relationships and you're happy-ish. You're mostly okay. You find that you spend your time just doing a lot of work in the relationship or feeling resentful of your partner, and within a year or so you're like, yeah, I mean, with the long, so I guess we should keep on, but I don't know, my vibes broke. Why your vibes broke? Well, it's not authentic. You're not authentically connecting with the person because you don't have an authentic connection with yourself. You don't know what to look for because you don't know you can't know what you're looking for if you don't know who is looking. Hey. You don't know who is looking, so you don't know what you're looking for. So you go sit down with yourself and figure out, say, yes, some of the parts of you are not very nice, and that's okay too. Some of the not nice part, them not going to change. So you might as well find somebody who can stomach you. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. You go out dating as though you're a perfect person and you spend so much time squashing yourself into shape so somebody will like you. My love, just go out there as Shrek. Go out as Princess Fiona in our Shrek farm and just somebody will love you as you is.
I feel like I need a little water. I've never done water on life class before.
One man. Sure. You see what I say? Yeah, but that. Yeah,
Carla. Listen, Stefan in the comments says, Stefan said, Selassie, I know. Hello. Okay, so we're going to ask the JN team to help us to keep track of the truth bombs for tonight's class because there have been many since we started at 6:30 on the dot, and it's just 19 minutes in, okay? So Nelly says, go out there as Shrek. Please don't. please be very contextual with that quote from Carla. Put the rest of the arguments with it, okay? So, but Carla, the points are like, we can't argue with them. Because if you don't know, I love that piece, if you don't know who is looking, then you're lost already.
Exactly. Like
who is looking for what, and for whom, and for what purpose. So before we consider to date or not to date, we need to know who am I? Where am I at in my space, in my journey? Where do I want to go? Now, this sounds to many people like this too hard, but I gotta just find somebody because loneliness is also real. Yes? Because Karim had introduced the idea to us that maybe men think of it as something different, the term, not even dating, for some men. Karim, talk us through the self-work piece from the man's perspective. Have you come across a space or a set of spaces where men are talking increasingly about, we need to heal back or fix up myself or, improve or get us to a certain point before I go checking somebody's daughter or some, or a partner?
Yeah, it depends on the level of maturity of the men in that space that you're talking to. So I've been fortunate, I mean, through the process of life to be in each one of those spaces. I've been in the space where, yeah, because I talk to a girl and it's whatever happens. I mean, I don't care if she's taking it serious. I really don't know. We're just going there. And at that time, you're not only talking to one person, you know. I'm not putting the men out there on blast, but, you know, we're being honest.
Yeah.
And then you get to a stage, you know, when you start to get older or you start to associate yourself with other men, different influence, and you start to want a little bit more structure in your life. Because believe it or not, men tend to want structure. We also do want that. And you tend to want to have somebody that you can communicate with and tell different stuff and just connect with. So during those spaces, you kind of start looking into yourself and you start saying, all right, you know, I want this kind of person, or, you know, and it really doesn't take that much. Well, if I can talk for me and most men, it don't really take that much. We don't really require that much as far as I know, but just being able to communicate and being real with the guy, that's pretty much it. I mean, the term dating, I've never really been in a space where I've heard a guy say, you know, I'm dating this this person. You know, it's a bit formal, but we know we're talking to that person. You know, and that's the person who we share certain things that we tend to hold back a lot, so we won't necessarily go overboard and start telling you how we feel. Some men might smother you and go overboard, you know, but in the general sense of things, we tend to take it a little bit slow, very slow. While the women, you know, they tend to want to get more serious quicker, and we tend to start to get distant when we start hearing about how serious you want to get with this, you know, because there are times when men, or some of us, we aren't that accepting of a certain level of commitment, if you want to put it that way. So that's when the distance starts. But I'll sign off there.
So then put a pin, right, for Karim. And we're going to jump over to Mrs. Weeks. Talk to us about the honest conversations, Shelly-Ann, that are essential. Because I heard Karim said it, I heard Carla mention it. So I want you to kind of drive it home for us and add your thing to it too. Being honest about what you're looking for, right? And being honest about the fact that there isn't just one person who can provide what you're looking for. How do we navigate those kind of conversations early out, Shelly-Ann?
All right. Well, before I jump into answering that particular question, I just kind of want to point out something really quickly. Just on a cultural tip, Jamaicans don't date. We go out. And when we don't go out, at some point we're there. Now, the distance between go out and there vary, dependent on, you know, how much time you're spending together, if you're gone public yet, who posts who on social media and own them, or maybe them parents see them more than twice. So them say, so this is going on right now. So, you know, so a lot of times we skip that conversation where we actually sit and decide that we are, as of today, we are going to be a couple. And being a couple entails these things. And I think that is such an important step to skip, because everybody goes in with their own expectations. And a lot of times we are not communicating those expectations to each other. So what Karim just said a while ago, where he said, well, she's moving a lot faster than he is because, you know, he's just over here enjoying her company and, you know, with some and having some meals and all of that. Meanwhile, she counting the dates, because when it reach date number 25, that means is a commitment time, and that means she's supposed to start the shopping for rings, and our friend them start say, "Why, you and Karim are going nice now, you know, soon settle down, we're going to make pretty babies." And these are the conversations. Meanwhile, Karim just like you, and him like your conversation, and have good times together, and, you know, you may have a really nice physical relationship that you're both enjoying. So I think that it is so important to have that conversation between God because that is going to establish where you are and where you're going to go as a couple. I think that is a very important step. Now, as it relates to what you have to offer somebody, I think that self-conversation that you're having is paramount. And I think women are more guilty of this than men. Sometimes we give more than we should, especially in the beginning of a relationship that we're not quite sure what's going on. But in our attempt to get him to commit, we start to do a lot more. We start to go the extra mile. We start to OD the thing. And he's reading it like, oh my gosh, my girl, relax, slow down. Hey, what is this? You know? So we have to gauge ourselves as well, because in us putting out all of this extra, we expect extra back. And he might not be there with you. And you want out there extra yourself because he just like you and he might enjoy it, you know. You might enjoy the 15 minutes of fame where you are go with this extra, this whole heap of extraness, you know? So I think it is so important that you not only have this self-conversation, but you need to be clear with the person who you're spending time with and let them know what your expectations are. Like that conversation, I think, is we skip it, but it's so important because that right away clears up a whole heap of things. Like he knows when say you're trying to find husband by between now and summer, and him knows same none of the husband business with you. So at that point, you can make some decisions, or you can decide to continue it, but you're continuing knowing that he's not on the same page that you are. And I think that is such an important part of it that we keep too much, and we need to fix that.
199%. And we can't go around it. We spoke about it last week. We're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it next time, because we cannot skip that phase if we want to spare ourselves some wasted months, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of confusion, a lot of awkward conversations, a lot of annoyance when you don't get the good morning text again, or you're not seeing a picture on his stories or on her IG, whatever. Like defining clearly, what does this space look like for you? We're getting to know each other. Is it an exclusive space? So I want to help our attendees to take away some literal questions to put out there, right? Like, okay, so I like you, you like me. We're going to hang out at Devon House in our mask, right? Next weekend. And then we're going to hang out on Valentine's Day because, we're in a space. But what is the space? What does getting to know each other look like for you? What are the rules of engagement? Can I get to know somebody else? Are you okay with that? Am I okay with you getting to know somebody else? All of these are very important conversations. Yeah. And I feel like, to your point, Shelly-Ann, about how we sometimes OD the thing, we're overdo it's like, I call it auditioning. We're performing. We want to prove that we are worthy of being chosen. And that, to me, Carla, comes right back to the self-work. That's something never sought out 100% internally. We still have this need for the external validation, which we all have, and it will always be there. But to what extent is it controlling us, right? So I love, listen, when Biscuity did that viral thing about our boyfriend not forget husband treatment, I was dying because many people were upset. But I found some of her points to be very vivid. Yes. And at the very least, they were worthy in my mind of examination, right? To see what elements of truth there are in them. Because sometimes it's not about being fair or equitable to our partner, it's about wanting to be chosen. We want proof, say, hello, I am the one. And the person might not be looking for the one right now. So Shelly-Ann, you nailed it. Nail on head, right? Now we start off in this segment talking about to date or not to date. I would love to start the other piece of this segment's conversation now. For those of us who have not dated online, what do you think it takes to date online or to date long distance? And should we or should we not? I think it's a personal decision. But before we get there, the panelists, our audience is talking about other things in the chat. I love Fadine's point. Fadine referenced your earlier comment, I think it was Shelly-Ann, about Karim's point about rejection. And Fadine flipped it. Fadine said, on the flip side, I have rejected others because I felt that I was not bringing enough to the table. That's a very interesting spin, yeah? Very interesting. You see how psychology play into all of these things, because we feel like, well, I don't want them to find me out, so I'm going to push them away before they can push me away. And it's a very common dynamic in many relationships. Let me reject him before him even find out, say, I'm not all that without makeup, for example. Yeah. Let me see what else is in the comments here. If I'm not dating physically, imagine the challenge to do so virtually. Yes. And Fedine is back in the comments. Fedine said Jamaican men looking sex. I don't know if Karim would agree with that necessarily, but that's Fedine. Karim is very quiet, by the way, but that's Fedine's point. All right, so let's talk about dating virtually, right? Meaning, Carla, we're talking about what now? We're talking about sliding into DMs, getting to know people primarily through, by virtual means. We're talking about FaceTime, because the other party is in Trelawney or in Toronto, yeah? Or in Turks and Caicos. We're talking about also what can become a long distance relationship. Carla, what do you think are some of the things to consider carefully before you decide if it is for you or not?
That's a great question. I think before you decide if online dating is for you or not, you have to ask yourself if you can get over a lot of the shame that a lot of us carry towards online dating. I cannot tell you the number of people I see on Tinder and I'm looking at them toe, I'm looking at them Audi, I'm looking at their kayak, I'm looking at the hairline and all of these things, but I would never see your face. So if I'm going to swipe right on you, I forgot to take a leap of faith that behind this toe is a sparkling personality. And I've said it, Jamaicans treat Tinder the way they treat begging at the stoplight. You understand that some people have to beg at the stoplight, but if you have to do it, you wish you could do it without showing your face. Right? We don't want, because you feel like you're desperate, especially for women, because for women, what we've been cultured is you're supposed to put on your best outfit, snatch everything together, go out and look cute, and somebody go run up on you, and you're gonna get to be like, no, not today. Okay, maybe you, them type of thing there. Online dating, so you can basically act like you don't care if anybody talks to you. But with online dating, by virtue of setting up the profile, you are saying, I actually care, I'm interested, a little something. I'm interested in something, So the first question is, can I get over the shame enough to show up fully in this space and authentically in this space? And so I don't waste my time and I don't waste the time of others, right? To just have this profile there and I just kind of using it to, I see people I like and I'm swiping left for no reason other than my shame saying I could have swiped right on them, I think it's also about asking yourself, okay, if I'm online dating, am I online dating looking for somebody to hang out with, to have drinks with? Am I online dating looking for a light flirtation with somebody? Am I online dating looking for an actual relationship? And that will determine how you set up your profile. It will also determine who it is that you move towards. Look, you don't have to date towards a relationship, because in Jamaica, we talk and day. It's like from we start talk to people in a primary school, secondary school, all the way I move towards marriage. Sometimes you just want to date for dating's sake. So ask yourself, what am I going on here seeking? Because if you're really just looking for somebody to just have a little flirtationship with, then the other people who are looking for flirtationships with are ideal for you. Don't swipe on the marriage people them when you don't want to marry. But the first big thing I would say for Jamaicans, can I get over the shame of being on an online dating site so I don't post my, my nails, my acrylics, and this is supposed to attract just a little hint of shoulder, message me if you love this stretch mark. Please stop.
Somebody Carla's mic real quick because she's not muting herself on here.
I'm muting myself.
Shelly-Ann, talk to us now. What would you say? Same question for you as well. What do you think person should consider before deciding, is online dating for moi?
All right. Well, the first thing that I would say is, all right. So it is an uncharted territory. Carla talk about the shame, so I won't get to that again. One of the things you have to do as well is you have to understand that it's a risk, and you are working with the information that they have placed on their profile, and that's all you have to go on. And so you might go link up with the person and, you know, chatting and for 10 weeks and having these amazing conversations, and then you find out they're married. You just wasted 10 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's a risk you're taking, and it might work out or it might not, and you have to approach it like that, because there are elements to online dating that is out of your control, right? So you have to approach it knowing that everything might not be as it is, and just take it as that and enjoy it for what it is. So in doing that, what I would recommend is to keep your conversation light, approach it like you would a new friendship, you know, and then after you're comfortable enough with the person, if you want to go beyond friendship, then that is something that you can negotiate after that. But I don't think you should go online trying to find a spouse, because there's a whole heap of minefields around that, and you know, the person might come across to be one way. I mean, I'm thinking of an example right now of a friend of mine who did just that. She got all installed with this gentleman, and long story short, she packed up all her stuff and migrated, and he had a whole other family. And so, yes. So it's
not on the profile.
I wouldn't say it again.
That wasn't on the profile, I take it.
Of course not. I mean, and they had trips, and he came to Jamaica, and they spent time together, and she's been there and spent time together and all of that. But apparently where he was carrying her was a secondary home. It wasn't his primary home. So the point is, it's a risk, right? So I wouldn't approach it trying to find the love of your life then. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, it's great to make great friendships. You can meet some very interesting people online. There are people who I'm great friends with now that I met online. I've been in long distance relationships, but we didn't meet online, but our relationship became long distance because of career reasons. But the point of the matter is that you have to deal with it for what it is and be honest about what it is. Because if you tell yourself the fairy tale, you're setting yourself up for failure in the long run, and it might be more devastating to you than it has to be. So start out by just making friends online and see what can happen after that.
So Shelly-Ann, so first of all, that primary secondary home thing took us out. I see everybody was like, whoa, that's sneaky. But also what I hear you saying is that if you are the kind of person, and we have to know ourselves, if you're the kind of person who likes the control and likes the certainty of an outcome, then maybe online dating with a particular mindset might not be for you. You may have to do some work on managing expectations, and maybe the anxiety levels will get too high if you should try that particular route. Yeah. So I love that. That's one to take away. Yeah, it might not be for you if you have to have some certainty in the outcome. And oftentimes we feel as though if we can see the person, right, see their mannerisms and be around them often enough, we can crack the code faster. So if you need that, then online dating might not be for you. Karim, what else would you want to add, if anything, to the list of online dating might not be for you if, or what questions you recommend asking yourself to figure it out?
All right, so I agree with both Carla and Shelly-Ann. One, I'd just like to add, the fairy tale, get that out of the way from day one. Another thing is online dating. How I look at it is it's different for everybody, and you have to know yourself. I'm not saying that it won't work or it will work. I know people who are actually married now who met online, and if we're going to be honest with ourselves, online dating is not just a new thing. It's been years back from. I remember, a matter of fact, the person I'm with now, I met her on High Five. I don't know if you guys remember High Five.
You just aged out.
I'm too young to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's how we usually communicate, from MSN Messenger. All of those things were online before you developed a relationship outside. The thing with online dating, it's pretty similar. You have to ask yourself a lot of the same questions you would during the regular dating phase if the person was actually in front of you. It's just a different dynamic, that it's online and you're not physically there with the person. Another thing is you have to be also careful about the information that you give out. too soon and too quick. Yes, you want to be authentic, but you don't want to give out too much personal details about yourself. And be open. Be open again. There's a big thing in the online dating world, which is we call it catfish. The person you're talking to is not the person who you actually think you're talking to. So another thing I'd just tell people is to establish a video. If you can get to video call that person as soon as possible, then you can start leading to something else. To touch on Carla made a point that people posting shoulders and body parts. Some of the time it's not necessarily the shame of online dating. Some of the time is they're not actually available. so they don't really necessarily want their person or somebody else to, but hold on, what are you doing online? So let me show your person that. So there's a whole different dynamic to this online dating world. And I think also there's something that Shelly-Ann said, I don't remember, but it's you can find love, and I don't think that I wouldn't say you shouldn't go there looking for love. As I say, it's different for everybody else. Somebody could be tired of the dating pool in Jamaica and they just want to experience another dating pool, somebody else in a different country. You understand? So they probably, and the only way they can connect with that person is through Tinder, through Match.com or whatever. By viewing the person's profile, they might be interested in that person. They have a dialogue, and you might never know, something magical can happen. And the person that's also in front of you could still have another house. I'm touching on Shelly-Ann's point now, where you could actually be physically dating somebody in front of you that you go to see every day, and they have a whole new and a whole other life that you don't even know. And no matter what kind of background detail you do or research you do, you just never know. So there is risk in everything.
Yes.
And it's just how you approach a situation. And it's just, you have to know what is for you. And also, if you're a person that sometimes, as I would put it, not sometimes, but you have people who are, what's the word, antisocial, and the word completely gone out of my head. But those people tend to like online dating because they can express themselves more via the keyboard or the text message than they do when they get to the person in person. They get all timid and sweaty and anxious and everything. So they get awkward. They get socially awkward. So some people, online dating works for them, and some, they just can't bother with this screen in front. They want to see you, they want to smell you, they want to feel you, they want to do all of that. So you have to be real with yourself, and I believe everybody should give it a try. And if we're being completely honest, we've all done it at some point in our lives. I think we're actually all doing it now. We just see our spouses more than the usual, but we're all doing it.
So we're all using some virtual means to.
We're all using some virtual means
to
build some form. Exactly.
But I feel like the scary part for many people is meeting a whole new person, a whole new entity, primarily online, without the benefit of the private background checks that we can do, right?
Well, that is where, when you get to the space now, all right, when you meet when you start online dating and you start talking to somebody, you don't necessarily just meet up the next day. You have to build a form of connection first. When you get to that stage now is when you establish the safety aspect of it. This is where you let your best friend know where the hell you're going. This is where you don't necessarily give out your phone number. You can, but Google has phone numbers that you can use. You can communicate differently. You can meet in an open spot. Some of you ladies are men, you like to go out and drink wine and get intoxicated. You don't ever want to do that if it's somebody you're meeting for the first time. So there are certain safety precautions measures that you take when you're actually going out there to actually physically meet this person first. But other than that, it's just like regular dating. I feel like it's sometimes even easier because if you have nothing to do, you can just swipe, as Carla said, oh, this girl is cute, let me click her. And you have multiple options. Think of it this way. If you stand up out by Devon House and you stand up there looking, and you see 6-7 guys walk past you, chances are probably the guy not going to say nothing, you not going to say nothing, you're not going to have a way to introduce yourself. Where if you were online, you see all 7 guys, you click on one, or you click on all 7, and whichever one respond to you. Or you could be talking to all 7 at the same time. You can't practically do that in person, right? So multitasking is also a big thing when you online dating, you know. So you're feeling out many different multitasking. You're feeling out many different people, many different personalities. You're seeing who is bogus. You're seeing who is not bogus. You look at certain deal breakers quick. You ask somebody to have a video conversation with you, and all of a sudden you hear my camera not working, something like that. You know, you can text that person out. That not seem necessary. That's a fake. That's, you understand, like that. So there are ways in establishing authentic communication and making sure the person you're talking to is actually the person you're talking to. So that's how I look at it.
So Karim, thank you very much, because you just preempted the segment 2, which is talking about how to have security and managing our insecurities in the dating space. But I love how Karim just coached us with some very practical tips. For example, be mindful of the ones who are like, oh, my video something don't work, or I can't come on video. I mean, I know someone who was getting to know somebody virtually, and the person was making excuses that, you know, I like texting. I prefer texting. Turns out the person had a whole newborn child in their life that was undeclared, right? And so some of these tricks, Karim is shining some light for us on some of the ways that people get a little bit, you know, a little bit dicey and shady. We have to be mindful of these things. There was one particular thing that Karim also said, which I think lends itself as one of the benefits of online dating. It's that everybody is pretty intentional and clear that I'm looking for something by being on here. It takes the guesswork out of it. Everybody declares that I'm on Tinder, not to find out your profession. It's not LinkedIn, it's Tinder. It's very different. So I'm on here looking to connect, whether it's a short term or a long term. I'm looking to do some connections on here. And that kind of takes the guesswork out of it and the anxiety out of it. Because sometimes, I mean, I saw somebody in the comments mention the fact that if not online dating, then what in 2021 right now? Because supermarket, everybody have on mask, you can't see nobody. So how else will we connect if it's not going to be virtual? And this is why the JN team thought it necessary or valuable to add this to the life class curriculum, because everybody want love same way. Many of us feeling like, oh my God, when is it going to happen? New Year just come, New Year's resolutions or intentions about love and marriage, but we ain't got nowhere to go. So online dating presents an option. So if you're completely opposed to it, by the time class finish, I'd love to hear if your mind change a little too. And if you're willing to try it, yes. Then let me take some of the comments before I tackle one very interesting question in the chat box, panelists. So first of all, Karim, somebody said, high five and MSN Messenger. Karim isn't as young as he appears. So that's one thing. Karim is speechless. That's one thing. Somebody said, Fedin says, I know people who it worked out for still, but I'm afraid of it, and I understand fully. And to Shelly-Ann's point about starting with a friendship, Diana is saying, I think that rule applies to dating in general. Start out as friends. 2 very close friends of mine met their spouses online. And yes, Karim, I was about to say, most of the same rules apply still. So I know that when we're talking about dating, we're not thinking about friendship. In fact, many people feel offended, Carla, when they're friend zoned. Yeah, when somebody says, oh, this is my friend. But there is value, Shelly-Ann, in forming a meaningful friendship. And I feel that whenever you start with a friendship, you can be yourself more authentically, Carla. It takes off some of the pressure, the performative auditioning pressure off of us. Because I can burp like human beings burp, right? I can go out with you without having to put on a full face beat. You understand? Because it's normal to not always be in a full face beat. Exactly. And we do this with our friends. So if we can start there, I think it's a good foundation. Yeah.
Agreed. I think a lot of the times when we go into the online dating space, sometimes it feels like we set ourselves up to fail, or we have very low expectations of the space, or we're so busy comparing it to in-person dating. It's not in-person dating. first of all. So you can't compare it, but also it's not that wildly different. You're spending time with a person, you're getting to know a person. And I don't know, I feel sometimes we overstate how hard it is, because many of us meet somebody in person and we talk to them on WhatsApp for 3 weeks before we meet up with them in person again. So in reality, the texting is not actually that foreign. It's just probably now you're doing it in the Tinder app versus putting them on WhatsApp. You know what I'm saying? So many of us lead these very full digital lives that honestly, online dating is kind of just the next place for us to go, because we live a life online anyways, and it takes some getting used to. But I think once we release that block that, oh, it's going to be so difficult, and we look at the fact that you're doing it already. You literally, you Skype with your boyfriend. You remember the last boyfriend you did have? You did Skype with him. Why? Because he did work later and so and couldn't come in your yard because of curfew. Yes. You broke up in the pandemic, remember? It's not new.
It's not new. It is not new. The question in the chat box, panelists, is from Simone. She says, so I am severely challenged with persons who go online to find love. Am I to accept that there is, was, remains absolutely no one known to you that interests you, whom you can feel, see, touch, and ask someone about? Simone, your question is so clear and vivid. I thank you for dropping it in the Q&A box.
I want to answer
You have no doubts about what you're asking. Shelly-Ann, your thoughts?
Simone, I don't think it is that dire. I think online dating offers more options, and there is a certain sort of freedom on the World Wide Web, and what it does, it opens you up to some things you didn't even know you were interested in, and I think that's a good thing, because sometimes we're so busy in our little Jamaican bubble that we forget that there's a whole other world out there, and there is something very, very refreshing about meeting somebody from a different culture that you jive with, and having conversations, and them talk about their favorite author, and you say, me too, and they live in Nigeria, and there's something about that. So I don't think, and I think that question speaks to Carla's initial comment about shame, because there's this idea that, okay, so all of the man them run, they just don't want to, so you have to go online, go try to find one, like you can't find no man where you know they want to you. You know what I mean? So I just think that there is so I have relationships with people who live all over the world, who English is their second language. And I meet all of them online. One of the gifts of COVID, I call it, is that you get to have conversations now with, like for my foundation, I'm talking to the person in Ghana who's doing what I'm doing in Jamaica. And it's amazing because when we start to compare notes and we live in two completely different cultures, and just having that conversation, it really gives you a whole leap to work with to make your work better. So the dating world, it's the same sort of experience. It's just that whatever you do, you have to recognize that there are risks involved, and there are things that you can do to mitigate some of those risks, is all we're saying. We just want you to go in with your eyes open, without any sort of unrealistic expectations. I know when you watch Hallmark and people meet online, they're perfect and all of them like the same things. And when you meet, all of the music starts to play and it comes to a crescendo when you finally have that first kiss, and it's amazing. Meanwhile, in real life, some of these people lie. Yeah. And they put on some things on them profile, we just lie. No gossip. And you don't know if it's lied and telling or not, which is why you have to put yourself in a position to deal with a liar if you buck up on one. If you come across someone who just lie, you're supposed to be able to deal with them and deal with them properly and tell them some Jamaican words and speak lots of fabrics to them and move on. Click to the next person. You have options. Right. You don't have to spend any more time with them.
So sexy.
Right? So that is what online dating gives you. Yes. Plenty options.
I see Fedine saying, but Shelly, is it Fedine? She says there are still real barriers to long distance relationship, like distance in all caps. So we're going to talk about that now, okay, right?
I want to address that really quickly.
Yes.
Let me address that really quickly. One of the benefits of a long distance relationship is your communication. is amazing. You have real conversations.
Yeah.
You get in touch with each other's feelings. If you do it right and you get vulnerable and the other person get vulnerable, it really does a lot to strengthen your relationship. And when you actually get into each other's spaces, you realize that you don't sweat the small stuff. You realize that after spending 6 months apart from this person that you're really, really into, when you get together, on an course about who never full back the ice tray in the freezer and who never put down the toilet seat and them something there, because you're just so happy to see each other. And so as like little things don't bother you so much, because the deep conversations that you have that strengthen your bond. One of my last long distance relationship, we almost got married. And I said almost because we had an ethical difference in the end, but it's somebody that I'm still very close with because of those conversations, because I know him so well, because we're able to chat for hours and we read to each other and we really get to share intimacy. And I think that sometimes when we're in relationships where we get to see each other every day, we miss out on that. So don't doubt our long distance relationship yet, because there's a whole heap of things that we can learn from keeping a long distance relationship alive, especially where the communication is because a lot of us take for granted that our partners are going to be there come home from work every evening, and so we don't have those type of deep connections. We don't pay enough attention to our intimacy. Notice I didn't say sex. Intimacy when we're in relationships with each other, and that is something that I think is absolutely important, because there's a lot of people having a physical relationship and they are not being intimate with each other. It's two different experiences. So you have to ensure that you fix that. If you're in a relationship where you see your partner every day and that's the problem, you have some work to do.
Listen, I feel like we already delivered about 15 big ticky items, right? I want to move us very smoothly into talking about security and insecurity, especially when we're using the online media, right? But I feel generous. I want to do a giveaway. JN has graciously provided for you 2 giveaways for this live class. And we're going to do the first one now. So to the person, and I'm going to ask Karim, Carla, and Shelly-Ann to be my judges, to the person who can, in one comment, just one, so pause and think about it first before you type out. In one comment, the first person to accurately list 4 online dating sites will win for themselves an Amazon gift card, courtesy of our beautiful JN Circle family. So remember, in what Jacqueline Aguan. Jacqueline is about that life. Anybody else want to take it up? 4, online dating. Woo. Gerangela said Tinder. High 5, Caribbean Cupid. But guess what? High 5, knock it again. All right. Karim, we're not hearing you. All right. So judges would have no work cut out. I will just sit here and look cute.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dana Ellis. She seems
to be the first one. Let me pull up. Dana says Match.com, eHarmony. Tinder. And what is supposed to be then? Christians online?
No, I think it's Leon.
Yeah.
Leonie. Tinder, Bumble, OkCupid, Match.com. I think it's Leonie, because Dana, what's that supposed to be? Christian mingle?
Well, all right.
That's a dating site. That's an online dating site.
Okay.
But is it that's what it's supposed to be? Because I'm not sure, because it don't spell right.
Okay. So
it's for Christian. It's for Christians.
eHarmony,
Tinder. It's more than one Christian site. Them have been another the one.
Stick up in panelists. By the way, Shelly, we'd love your video.
No.
Video, please. And then I'm going to ask Carla to be our tie-breaking judge. Carla?
One stressing on my life. All right, let me see.
Leonie, or is it, Leonie's comment is the clearest and the cleanest.
Right. So Dana's comment, I can't make out what the middle one is, the Christian one. And that would be the only reason I would say Leonie is the winner.
Congratulations, Leonie Lawrence. You have won for yourself an Amazon gift card to do some shopping, courtesy of our very generous JN Group family. Congratulations to you. And thank you for all the many of you who have attempted to win this one. We have another one coming up. So stay on until the last couple of minutes, I'm going to give away another one because Jane Group is that generous. All right. So now we're talking about security. Let me start off this segment by saying this to you, judges, to you panelists. Someone reached out to me on IG to ask me a question recently, which caught me by a little bit of surprise. The question was, is doing a formal background check on someone you're dating, is it inappropriate or too much? And I was like, wow, I don't know, that it just caught me a little bit off guard. And so I went live to talk about it, and the feedback was very interesting. I'm going to start with Karim. Karim, what are your thoughts on this?
A formal background check. To me, that sounds like you're going to hire a private investigator and start dig dirt and all of that. I feel that, I mean, most of us, if we're taking somebody serious, we tend to do our checks. It might not be formal. Most of it can be informal. To be honest, I mean, to each his own. I don't know how I would feel if someone came to me and was like, hey, babe, oh, you know, I did a background check on you and everything checks out, so we're good. I don't know at that point. I must say, all right, because at that point, I'm going to start looking at other things because I see things far down the line. If you're going to start doing a background check on me in so early, I mean, what else you going to start dig down in the relationship? Like, I don't know how to look at that, but I mean, is it a deal breaker? It depends on the person. I mean, that one's kind of sticky one. I think we do background checks informally. We find somebody close to that person. We look on their social media. We meet their family or something. I don't know about this sounds like you're gonna hire somebody to track the person, take a photo. No, that sounds a little bit overboard, you know, and I'm the type of person that, as I said before, I look at things long term and way down the line. So if you're doing that, I'm already know what you're going to do 10 years down the line or 6 months into this relationship. I may sleep with my phone and on a pillow or something. So I don't know, but that's how I see it.
Thank you for that feedback, Karim. Fedine is in the comments. Fedine said it depends on what stage. And she says it could be a prisoner, right? And then to your point about the person coming to you and say, babe, you know, I did this check on you. She says, but you wouldn't tell them, right? And I think that's where it gets a little bit dicey for me. It's starting off on that leg of secrecy. And some would say deception. What happens if you find something even mildly concerning? What do you then do? All right. Carla, I'm jumping over to you real quick. What are your thoughts on this? Is Carla frozen?
I feel like the thing is not working now. Yes, I'm frozen. I'm not hearing you well.
All right, yes, you are frozen. Let me jump over to okay, Carla is back. So Carla, jump in again.
Right. So this question, I thought about it for a while. And all right, let me see if I turn off my video just for this, if it will help to stabilize things. Okay. I thought about this question for a while. Are you still hearing me?
Yeah, man, loud and clear.
Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. Because on the one hand, you don't want to start off on this foot because it could augur really poorly for how the person might be. You might be trying to get involved with somebody who's been very distrusting, and you know, as Karim said, you might have to be sleeping with your phone under your pillow, all of these types of things. At the same time, I'm aware of what some people really do go through in the dating space, you know, because there are people who have, as said, you're in the relationship and then you find out that the person has a whole other family. A lot of people have been cheated on. A lot of people have been lied to. A lot of people have dated people who are abusers. And one of the things that those experiences can do to you is to make it very hard for you to take somebody's word. In the long run, as you get to know the person and you build up trust in the person, it might be easier for you to do that. But in the first instance, especially if you're somebody who has come through an experience of abuse, it might be very difficult for you to just take somebody's word for it. So I am also kind of on the fence with it. On the one hand, you don't want to be that type of person who just, you can't believe what somebody says. But I'm also mindful of the things that could cause a person to turn out that way. It would make me feel uncomfortable if somebody did that with me, but I would also be understanding of it. What I would make note of is I would watch to see if it's a behavior that keeps presenting itself, where even though I keep showing up as honest and trustworthy, you keep having this difficulty in trusting me. And if I saw where that was presenting itself, then I might become hesitant. But in the first instance, look, people lie, okay? And people lie, they hide things, and some people are very good at hiding things, so I'm kind of also on the fence around this one. I can't give a clear do or don't do.
Gotcha. And I see one of our panelists just clarifying for us, Fideen, saying formal background check typically is really a police record check, right? To see, does this person have a record? Have they been charged with a criminal offense at any time in the past, right? And of course, the other informal ways in which we do background checks. So we start their social media profiles. One of our audience members says you Google them, right? And I see another comment here from, this is from Carla. I will be asking the friends you hang around. So those are some of the ways in which we do our checks to kind of get a sense of, is this person worth my time? Is this person who they represent themselves to be? Yeah. Shelly-Ann, what are your thoughts on the background check story?
Do the background check.
You said
do it. I think, especially in the era that we live right now, I begin and end at communication. And I think as your relationship progresses and you get more serious about each other, you start to merge assets, and then now I'm implicated in things that you do just by virtue of the relationship that we have. And especially if we're going to be legally bonded through marriage, I think there are certain checks that you must do before you even jump the room, before you even buy the dress. And this is a part of the conversation where I just feel that we are so socialized that we pay more attention to the event and the symbols than we do to the substance. And so what I mean by that is, I think there are certain conversations and certain things that must be done before one merge legally. And when I say merge legally, I'm talking about getting married. I think you should do a financial autopsy, a criminal autopsy, and a medical autopsy. I think you both as a couple should go and get an executive profile. You need to go get everything checked, let them scan your brain, scan your heart. If you are in danger of becoming a vegetable 3 months after we get married, sir, I need to know, because that means I'm going to have to be your bedmaid and your nurse. And if that's going to be my life from now on, I would like to choose it. So we're going to do an executive profile. We are also going to have a conversation with somebody who is a financial planner, and we're going to put our monies on the table, which is why I'm a fan of the prenup. Prenup is not for wealthy people, Prenup is for poor people, because what it does, it forces you to have an honest conversation about the status of your finances. If I am going to inherit 50% of your debt, I need to know how much you owe and to whom you owe it. So we are going to have a straight up conversation about what it is that's going on. And we have to hire some professionals, because I can't just take your word for it. So we're going to see the banker, and me give the banker my documents, you give the banker your documents, and we realize that me have $10, you have $15, and or me have $100, you have $5, and we put it together and we have $105, and that is what we're going to be doing. I think that a lot of couples go into these long-term relationships completely blind, and then when it comes down to it, they end up being in a situation where choices were being made on their behalf and they did not even know. And where the criminal part of it is concerned now is, if you were in one gang 5-10 years ago, you come out of the gang and you thief some of the gang money, and the head of the gang still look for you, I need to know that so I can't duck if any gunshot coming my way, so I know what I'm getting myself into. So if we're getting married, and remember I said, this is what you consider before you get into a legal relationship with somebody. You have to ensure that these things are done. I think there's a list of questions that you must ask. For example, something as simple as, how important is your religion to you? You realize that people end up having that debate when they have a child and they're trying to decide where the picnic going to get christened. That's too late. You should know that before.
Agreed.
So I think if you're going to get serious with each other, there are certain things that you must know. And you can only know those things either by being honest in your conversation with each other or hire a professional.
Shelly-Ann, so listen, Life Class is such a wonderful space because a couple of weeks back, we actually had Shelly-Ann McGregor, noted attorney in Jamaica who handles a lot of, prenup and, divorce matters. And we actually spoke in detail about the fact that I want to remind people, Shelly-Ann, that if you live with someone, if you're cohabiting with someone and 5 years and 1 day come, you have legal rights, okay? You can make legal claims. So legal here doesn't only mean put on the ring and go before pastor or go RGD. It means if you're living in the primary home, right, with this person and 5 years and 2 hours pass on the calendar, then legally you have rights, okay? And so I fully agree. Somebody said that they think maybe it's too much that Shelly is outlining. Let me take Karim's burning point. Karim, you're freezing up. Let me see if I can hear you.
I agree with Shelly on some of her points, but I think Shelly is leading more towards a more serious, committed relationship. I'm not sure if that's what the question said. I think it was referring to in the dating stage. In the early dating stage, I don't know about the background check, but I agree with everything that or most of the things that Shelly said. When you get to that ceiling where you're going to be legally bonded, there's certain things you need to know, especially health. Health is one that a lot of us miss out, like your blood type, to see if you carry
sickle cell trait,
stuff like that if you're looking to have a child. But that is, that part is now, that's a different level of commitment you're stepping into. In the early dating stage, I don't know how much of that, because that could be a turn off. I mean, if the person finds out, and you could not, that alone could stop you from getting to that stage that you want to get.
Talking about the
because the person might initially, you see, everything rises and falls on trust. Yeah, because everything rises and falls on trust. Everything moves at the speed of trust. And if I feel like you are violating me that early, then that might lead to us not getting to that stage. However, if we're both past that stage now, we decide that we're going to go serious, then this is where another level of conversation is going to take place, where am I with prenup, am I not, this is what I own, this is whatever. I don't like how you spend money, I don't like your family, I don't like your religion, I don't whatever. I mean, no, those stuff will come out throughout the dating. It's a process, you don't just date and then jump to marriage. Well, some people do it nowadays, but the old traditional way is you take your time and you go through, you do your premarital counseling, or you date for a couple of years, you learn the person ins and out. And I feel like if you're dating somebody for a couple of years, one, you can tend to know the financial habits, the spending habits, you can pick up on very quickly. You feeling them out. So there's certain stuff you can pick up on even before all the validation and the legal stuff get into play. So again, I really don't know how I feel about in the early stage somebody doing. I mean, for me, I probably might look at you and say, all right, you're not going to find anything, because one, people are good at hiding things. I could have been in a gang and Shelly don't know, and it's not shown on
police record.
my any police record, because I probably didn't get in trouble. You understand? And you could be out there with me and something happen and you get in. So again, every single thing, once it has to deal with a person, you're taking a risk with anything. The minute you go out there and engage with somebody else, you're risking your health, your life, whatever. Especially now, you're risking getting corona. So I mean, trust is a huge thing, and I feel like you can know when somebody's genuine to a point. So I like to give people the benefit of the doubt in the early stages before, because I don't just necessarily take people serious like that. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt within the back of my head, knowing that you're probably telling average. I don't think I'd go that far. I would do my research informally, look at your friends, look at the people you associate with, see if I can make 1 and 2 connections, look at the stuff you like, look at the places you go. Because if we're in the same space, I'm going to be observing your movements and all of that. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Karim. I think for sure Shelly was going further down. So she was referencing the dating piece and then how to move into long-term while doing due diligence. There's a comment in the chat here that has me chuckling, and then I'm going to jump over to Carla. Because Carla doing the rock. Tell me that she has something spicy to come and say on the people in the microphone. Fedine says, dating is the getting to know you stage, but there is still etiquette to follow, I believe. Because when the men start questioning me off the start line, I bluntly ask them, are you police? Are you a policer? Right? So I want to tie this up to a point that we even made at the beginning of class this evening, where let me tell you who it was. I think it was someone, I can't remember who, but somebody referenced it to talk about the fact that, I think it's you, Sexy-Ann, talk about the fact that, listen, we shouldn't only go in expecting to get, but to also give. And so if we require transparency from our partners, we have to be willing to give transparency too. I don't know anybody who loves to be on the receiving end of an interrogation and not be able to ask you questions back. Like, what about you, Kamala? Like, where you been? How your money stay? What going over your side? I can't be over here as therapist just saying, okay, so your mother, do you love her? Right? And interrogating the people's children. I have to be willing and generous to also share information. It goes both ways. So that's a very powerful point too. Miss Carla Moore? What's you over there saying? You're muted.
I've just been saying the dramas of it. The dramas of it. All right. You see, if we're going to have the conversation, then we have to have the conversation in a way that's authentic to the space that we're having the conversation in, right? I'm not here to say that all humans cheat. I am here to say that several humans we know have been cheated on. We have also cheated, right? And because we have engaged in these types of behaviors, we know the things that people are capable of. It's 1 degree of separation before you know somebody who has had someone do something truly heinous to them. And so I really feel like the conversation about trust is very complex. People will say, oh, you should trust me. And then when you trust me, then you give me the opportunity. And if I break your trust, then we're in a problem. And then another set of people will say, no, trust is something that is earned. I'm coming in skeptical, and I'm going to let you know that I'm skeptical. And then if you prove yourself, then we should trust. And honestly, y'all, I can't tell you that either set of people is wrong. I think a part of the compatibility, section of this thing might be finding somebody who understands trust the same way you do. If you are the type of person who believes that trust should be earned, no matter take up yourself with somebody who is like, trust me off the bat, start me at an A, and let me see if I downgrade myself to a C. No, you start at a D. You're going to have to work for the A, right? And it's exactly, and it's also that because I think we would be disingenuous at this point to act as though some people are not within their rights to be distrusting, given the things that they have experienced, given the things they've seen other people experience. What I would say is be honest about how you are. Don't approach someone and act as though, oh, I'm trusting and I believe you, and I'm, and in the back of your mind, everything that them say, you're like, no, there's a hole in the story. There's, don't do it. Be upfront. And when somebody is, and here, when in the dating thing, we love to tell people what to do. You should do this and you should do that. And we don't think, how am I going to receive it when somebody does this? When somebody comes to you and says, me not trust people, call me cartel, me don't trust people, you're going to have to earn it, you're going to work for it, then understand that that's what you are. If the picture nice you and some of the conversation nice you and you want to earn the trust, then go ahead. If you is not that person, say, well, you can take your trust issues and carry them over to someone else. I'm not doing it. I mean, a part of making any space work is really just showing up as yourself and understanding that being yourself may create rejection because not everyone is going to want who you are. That doesn't always mean there's something fundamentally wrong with who you are. It just means you're not compatible with that person, and that is also okay. It's not a failure on your part.
There you go. I see Ophelia McKnight, a former panelist on Life Class. She was on, I think, is class number 2 or 3. She was talking about getting to know each other organically. And this can feel kind of weird, kind of awkward, but I love Carla's point about showing up and speaking your truth. Even if the other party is having a response, like a negative reaction to it, this is my truth. Right now, I'm challenged by this thing you're saying to me. I don't like how you're always whatever. It could be me. I'm not trying to shame you or judge you, but I'm saying I'm having a response and I'm going to own that. So that's a piece of it too. I put segment 2, security and insecurity, because I feel like for too many people, and I'm going to jump to Karim on this one, for so many of us, we feel more insecure when we're not able to have as many physical encounters with the person we're dating or in a relationship with, especially because for many of us, being in a physical space is almost tantamount to control. I feel like I can police where you're going, if you smell like somebody perfume, if you have the lipstick on your collar, if me see your phone connect to somebody Wi-Fi over Carla house, why you have Carla Wi-Fi code in your device, right? I can see it with my eyes if I'm with you. But then when I'm just talking to you from Toronto, I can't tell if you're creeping, right?
And I mean, yeah, I agree with you, and that's where trust and communication comes in, especially in the online or in the long distance. Let me change it from online to more like the long distance phase. When you're somebody develop and establish a long distance relationship, there are certain, I want to say certain ground rules or certain things. You have to be very detailed in a sense, and you have to be authentic, you have to be detailed, and the communication has to be on point. It's a little different than when you're in person, because it's very easy for the other person to think that, as you quite rightly said, they don't have control or where you are or whatever. So there's certain communication that needs to be taken. Okay, I reached this destination. I'm here. It's not like we tend to look at it as checking in when we're closer, but when you're away, it's like a necessity. I want to know when you wake up. I want to know whatever, even though you're not technically there. So trust is an important thing, especially in long distance relationships. If you're somebody that has trust issues, long distance relationship not for you. Don't even think about it. You're not exactly. You're not going to get past the first month. If you're a jealous person, long distance relationship is not for you. If you're somebody that requires constant physical touch, it's also not for you. Another thing is I know I'm probably segueing into other things, but what makes long distance relationships work is that there's always a date, an end date, or a date to look forward to where you two are actually going to meet. You understand? So there's something to get excited about. And during that time is when you build up everything, which I think Shelly mentioned it earlier, that where the communication is. During that period, the things that you guys are communicating on is completely different. So the level of connection that you develop when you get to that end date, that exciting day that you actually see each other, it's complete bliss in most cases. You understand? The hard part is when you leave, but then again, there's another build up. So it's like a constant climax. You go up and then you go down. You understand? So that's for the good ones, the ones that work. So for persons who are insecure, it can work and it cannot work for them. It just depends on how you flip it. If the person is communicating with you, so they might video call you, hey, and again, I say it's not checking in. It's just communicating. We tend to look at things, especially, I don't want to put the woman on blast, but we tend to look at it like the guy's policing your one everywhere you go. But if my partner is in Toronto and I'm in Jamaica, and this is somebody that I'm really serious about, I want to know that if you're going to the CN Tower, you actually reach the CN Tower. And I mean, I don't necessarily mean to take a picture of the CN Tower and show me, but that's where the communication comes in and the level of trust. It's not easy, but it's not hard. But it's a different dynamic that builds you up. And you might find that you guys have a stronger connection than even the person that is physically there. The difference now are the challenges are the more complicated part is when you start to get too comfortable with being apart. And when you actually get together now for long distances or long periods of time, that you start resenting each other because you're so used to being separate. And the conversations that you guys usually have is not the same type of conversations that you're having in person. You understand? So that is where another shift kind of happens. So you have exactly. So you kind of have to know how to navigate this field. I'm currently in a long distance relationship. So I know the challenges. Communication again, even via text message and phone, how you say things, how you type things, people might interpret it different ways. You understand? I'm somebody, and I can put this out there. I love my good mornings. Do not message me GM in the morning. I will light you up. Do worse if you are my person. If you are my person and I wake up and you tell me GM.
What is a G? What is a GM? Karim, we lost your audio for a second, but you're back.
Okay, you hear me? Yeah, so I am that type of person. And you know when persons tend to get upset, they instead of saying okay, you get a K. Okay. So you tend to pick up on people's moods through the text messaging. You understand? Video calling is also very important during online, not say online, during long distance relationship, and also scheduling time for each other to actually spend time. Because you know we all live busy lives. We can get caught doing it. You can date your partner, you know, while they're overseas. You can set a Netflix date. You guys start Netflix, watch the same movie. You can go probably prepare dinner. You can dress up. You can do the same things. People might think it's cheeky or it's whatever. And a key thing that I realize that we're missing on is, which is very important, and we can talk about, is the sexual aspect. People have needs. You understand? How am I going to be satisfied sexually when you are overseas? Yeah. That is a strong conversation to have. Are you going to be using toys? Do we have a type of relationship where I am perfectly fine with you having somebody else here? These are big people conversations. Is somebody servicing you while I'm away? I am fine with that. Are you okay with that? Until these are conversations. Do we have video sex? Do we text? Do we sext? Sex is a very important part of relationships, and it is the same even when it's long distance. As in, are you going to masturbate? We're big people. We have to know what we're talking about. Am I going to get a photo? Do you sex? Can you send me a picture? These aren't. We have to have these type of conversations also. So it's the same. It's just distant. And it tends to be more intense, because just imagine the build-up, knowing that I'm going to see my partner in 6 months, and I'm here looking at her body, and she's looking good, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking good, and I'm feeling her, and she's knowing that I'm not doing nothing. I'm knowing that she's not doing anything. And when we get there, there's no much talking. It's just action, and that's a healthy part of a relationship, especially a long-distance relationship. So that's what I would add for that.
So Karim, you just hit it out of the park. I feel like what I heard you say in terms of summary is the fact that all the key elements of a relationship should be the same. They're the same key elements in a long distance relationship, especially if you want it to be healthy. Yeah. So there is no skirting certain issues. And I remember hearing a particular person I was talking to several years back in a counseling space. The person said their wife was going to be traveling overseas for a protracted period of time. And I was amazed at how automatic the assumption was that, well, clearly, me as the man, I have somebody over there, because I'm not going to be, satisfying myself for that whole time. And I mean, if the couple had reached an agreement, I would have been, okay, two big people agree. But it was so automatic, I was blown away, like, whoa, where's the communication? Where's the agreement? But I felt like for him, it was like a given, like, duh, especially because he resented the fact that she was making that move for her career. So a lot of elements can come into play. And Karim spoke about the communication piece. Carla, you know, Shelly-Ann, you know, that some conversations should never be had by text, ever be caught dead texting about any deep hurt, any insecurity. No, because tone can get so misconstrued so easily, etc. And especially with the K and the emoji and the sometimes the people are typed to all 15 minutes and you get back, okay then. You know we need to jump on a phone call right now. Make it a FaceTime because I need to see you. What were you typing though, honey bun? And all these things can lead to, we don't know if it's a case where the person was driving and had to stop at the stoplight to finish texting. And that's why it took so long. But I can easily go in now being extra defensive. Say, okay, so you're at for me. I'm going to act back for you too. And then before you know it, we're not talking for 2 whole weeks because of a 15-minute typing spell that was not properly communicated. Yeah? So we have a bag of things in the comments, which I live for it, right? Let me see now. Let me see, somebody was mentioning, so Jacqueline was commending Karim, who again has nicely preempted my segue into giving some practical tips for keeping it spicy and fresh when you're getting to know somebody and when it's long distance. She says she loves the fact that you are suggesting creative ways to date long distance. So big up Coach Karim in the space. Fedine says, distance mash up my last long distance relationship. I was too shy for the sexy picture sharing online and thing. Fedine talk about other things in the comment. Like we have to give Fedine like a honorary membership over here in the comment section because she's speaking the truth. Okay? And I saw Ophelia mention, she said, exactly, Karim. Please address the reality that some people prefer a long distance relationship and do not operate in the same way when they are in the same space with the person they're dating. It almost gives them an out, an excuse to not be physically present all the time. And I know my eyes are not deceiving me. I think I saw somebody named Dania referencing the fact that for some people, space is good. And so we have to talk about the fact, Shelly-Ann, that for some people, long distance nice. Because I see you maybe every quarter, every 5 months.
Yes.
And still walking on my house and then I feel like I have to tell nobody where I go. I mean, every single time, that type of thing. Talk to us about that, please. I don't think many people think about it, Shelly-Ann.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to share a little bit about my business. I was involved with my high school sweetheart for years. Like the first guy I ever kissed. We were supposed to be getting married and all of these kind of things. And we fell apart when we started to spend more time together. And I started to see his habits, and he started to do some things I didn't know that he does. But when we were online together, when we were talking, he doesn't do these things. Like he had really bad health issues and he refused to go to the doctor. Like things like that. And then I became a nag about it, and he resented that because he's like, well, not everybody is like you. I mean, his breath will stop while he's sleeping. And you know, it became a thing. And when we were sleeping in the same bed together is when I noticed this, because when we on the phone, when him there London and me there Kingston and we on the phone, me not hear same as sleep apnea. So the more time we spent a full month together, and one of us nearly never made it out alive. It was really, really something, because the more I said about it, is the more resentful he got, and he was very defensive about it. And when his mother called me, and his mother said to me that she hoped that I would be able to convince him to go to the doctor and get certain things checked out. And he has some mental issues around doctors and all of that, because he lost his father to some botched medical procedure and all of that. So I think some of that is the reason why he was so hesitant to go. But the truth is, like, I became more of a authority figure to him than anything, because I mean, well, I am who I am, and I talk what I talk, and you know, I'm very confident and I talk loud and stuff. So he was annoyed with me, and for like a week, out of how I knew we were in trouble is when he started to sleep on the couch, because I him say cuddle. So I think that, you know, the good thing about long distance relationships, as I mentioned before, is the level of communications that you can have. Another negative is that you don't get to see the full picture. You get to see the picture that person allows you to see. And sometimes that's not enough because you want to see what else is going on for the time that you're not seeing them. And sometimes when you meet that part of it, it's like, whoa, no, I'm not prepared to deal with this. I didn't know that you were such a snub. Like you come in and your shoes there, so you eat, your mouth weak and everything is over here and you have disgusting habits. And why does your 10 fingers have to be in the chicken when you're eating chicken? What happened to fork? And you know what I mean? And you don't see those things when you're on the phone and when you're on FaceTime. And you don't see that they don't like to shower. They get up in the morning and shower if they're going somewhere, but if they're not going anywhere, then just don't bathe. And you're like, what? You're not bathed? So, you know, it is like, go back to the risk. It is a risk you're taking. And, you know, it comes down to how much can you accept and how much is it that you can compromise on and how much is just too much and you cannot deal with, especially if you intend to spend a lifetime with this person. And the truth is we see what they want us to see. We don't get to see the entire thing.
Yes. And Shelly, you hit on some very powerful points. Let me jump over to Carla because she's doing the Carla Rock again and hear what you have to add to this before I do a segue into the final segment.
No, so I love what everybody is saying. And when Shelly was speaking, the thing that came to me is one of the things that a long distance relationship can disguise, especially a longer relationship, is that you don't like a person. Loving a person and liking a person are two different things. I love you is I care if you've eaten. I understand your value and your worth. I like you is I want to take drive out with you. I want to spend time with you. I want to hang around with you. And especially if you're in a long distance relationship and the relationship has existed for a while, you're in the motions of doing the relationship things, but the tiny things about a person that truly irritate you, or the fact that this spark is not there anymore, that can get lost in a long distance relationship, because sometimes you feel, oh, it's just the distance. You don't really realize that you've actually grown apart in some ways, which is why it's very important to do relationship things with the smaddy, which me and you sit down with your plate and me sit down with my plate, and we're going to eat dinner right now. And I'm going to see where those 10 fingers are. When you are cooking, turn the camera. I want to know, do you put too much time? What? I spoke to a girl online and I asked her, you know, what type of questions did you ask? And she said, I'm asking what kind of seasoning and putting in food. These are the questions I'm asking, you know, but like, it's to actually do things that replicate the in-person relationship, and to not blame everything on the distance, because sometimes the issue is not actually the distance, it's that the relationship is changing in an organic way, and we need to show up to that.
Carla, you and Karim not stop talk about me argument. Look at me plan out this segment, them and just a jump over. Listen, man. But before we get there, of course, people are in the comments just dying with laughter. And I love the point. I feel like in general, Shelly, Karim, and Carla, what long distance relationships or the virtual engagement does is it calls upon us to strengthen all of our muscles. Like it's like how when people lose a sense, like the sense of hearing or the sense of vision, let's use vision. It is scientifically proven that oftentimes the sense of hearing gets stronger, more developed, because we rely on it more. So I feel like if we're open to it and if we show up to it, a long distance relationship is like causing us to use more muscles than we even realize we're using, because we now have to pretty much replicate the typical relationship journey without sitting beside your partner every day, smelling their breath, as somebody in the comments said, right? Knowing how they carry their foot and their slippers and these things. It's really, I think it draws on more muscles than we normally use for relationships. And it can be powerful. It can lead to a stronger relationship, but you have to know if it is for you or if it is not for you. Yeah. There was a question from an attendee in the comment, which I think I would just like to ask Karim in particular to just give maybe like a quick answer to. You said some things already which are relevant, but just to kind of drive it home, Karim. Ricardo says, since the pandemic, a lot of couples have broken up because of distance, etc. What would be a recommendation to stay together, especially if the distance is between foreign countries?
A lot of couples have broken up because of the distance. All right, I can give you a perfect example. Corona hit March. Everything started closing down around March. I saw my family January, and that was the last time I saw my family again until December. No, I have a 1-year-old daughter. Well, she's 2 now, so I missed her birthday. I miss birthdays. I miss everything. Again, it comes down to the type of relationship you and the person have and what you're willing to fight for. And when I mean what you're willing to fight for, I really mean what you're willing to fight for. What value you get out of that relationship, and how and it's not only singular. It's both of you guys. So if you know that this is something that definitely you want, it's not easy again, but it can be. It's not easy. It doesn't have to be extremely hard. It just comes down to doing what you need to do communication wise, and everything is going to come back down to the level of communication, regardless of how we want to put it. If you're not physically there with somebody, you know your communication have to step up, and it have to step up in such a way that the person feels like they're next to you, and in not a way that it's nagging. You understand? We're going through something that none of us have ever been through, as far as I'm concerned. So flights were locking down. You couldn't know that, all right, next month I'm gonna fly up to see my girl or my guy or whatever the case may be. So you guys just have to constantly keep the trust alive, keep the communication alive, and keep the love alive if this is something that you really want to work on. What I think has actually happened, though, the inverse to that I've actually heard is that more couples have broken up because they're actually in the same house together. You understand? So not the opposite of them being apart. It's actually being in the same house together, and you wake up and both persons will be at work by 8 and they get in at 5 or whatever, cook dinner, eat, go back, jump in bed, and that's it. Now it's different when you have to look at somebody from 8 to 12 or from 8 to 8 the next day, and you guys looking at each other like, okay, and you start get annoyed for various reasons nobody knows. So that's actually the dynamic that I've been hearing about, not the other one that's, the distance, because you kind of tend to get, if you're distant already, you tend to be used to it. The only thing is that date that you would normally see the person has changed. You understand? Because it's uncertain. However, when you're in the same space now, this is where you're going to probably have to learn to spice up your thing where, all right, we have to see each other. Let's probably play some board games. Let's probably talk about something. Let's do something that's not conventional. Let's do something let's have fun with each other over. Let's date each other over again. Because we're so used to having busy lives. I go to work, you go to work, we come home. Worse if we have kids. If we have kids, all of the attention is turned towards the kids. Now, we're in the same space for how much o'clock? I don't know what to do with you. You understand? So that's the dynamic that I've actually been having. People just either just have sex and go, or find. A matter of fact, before the gyms closed down, I was at the gym and he came in and he was like, man, you don't even understand how I'm happy for this at the gym still open. This is my only peace. I get to leave the house with the woman. I see the woman morning, noon, and night. Like, me need some space coming at the gym and lift up. And the woman would probably be saying the same thing. She probably glad he leave the house. She can breathe. Like, you understand? So I think we as individuals really just have to be openly honest with each other. I am open to my spouse where she knows when, and she doesn't take it. I don't think she takes it too serious, but she knows when I want to be left alone. And it's not a case where I'm doing it to make you feel bad. There are just certain communication and there are certain things that you just need to let your spouse know. When I'm at this stage, it's not anything against you. It's not whatever. It's just I need some time and I need to be left alone. And it's for you now to know that, all right, you need to go and engage back that person. So after you've been left alone or whatever, you get that space, you go out now and you engage. And that's where you build, and you probably kiss her upon her cheek or she kiss you on your cheek. But we have to be respectful of each other. Though we're social beings, we still require some level of separation. You understand? We still need some space. So as long as we're able to communicate that, and the partner that you're with should know that. A lot of us are with partners that they don't know who they're with because we get in situations that we never want to get in from day one, and we just can't come out because we're saving face. So if you're with somebody who knows you, or this is the time when you should actually communicate and let the person know you, and then you decide that, hey, the person that I found out I was with within the last 6 months is not the person I thought I was with, because I didn't get to experience this person. So that's just how I really look at it. Everything is going to come back down to having difficult conversations, whether it be now when you're in that space or whether you be when you're away. And that's how you really know if you can really work this thing that's called a relationship. If not, you're too better off in two separate houses, still having a sexual connection, if that's what it is or whatever, and you maintain a relationship. Because we tend to look at things just one conventional way, that everything leads to the end goal of marriage or every relationship is the same. And the truth is, it's not. Some things are just not for everybody. It's not a one size fits all. And you can have a relationship with somebody for 7, 10, 8, 9 years, and you're not a person who ever lived, and you live happily ever after. And you have no problem with that. That person has no problem with your situation. So it comes down to having difficult conversations, being secure, being safe enough to express this with the person that you're with, and just being honest with yourself. Other than that, you're fine.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it. It might not be the popular way to look at things, but that's just how I see things, and that's just how I am. And if a lot of persons probably looked at things more openly, we would have less divorces, less fornication, less of a lot of things, because people would be completely honest with who they are, and they wouldn't be living lives based off family, religion, society, or whatever the case may be. You are your own individual person. You were born alone. You will die alone. You just have to tread your throat and live. So that's just really how I look at it at the end of the day.
I saw Jacqueline in the comments, Karim, and she was coaching right alongside you. She says, being attentive to the other person, be genuinely interested in their day-to-day activities. And she says the other thing that she would add is setting future goals. I think every relationship should have goals, being more proactive towards those. So I think she's helping you to answer the question of what can couples do to keep that connection even when you're in, at different poles of the earth. We're at the stage in our conversation where I want to leave some juicy nuggets, especially for those who are getting to know somebody in the early stages. Carla touched on one of them, right? Let me see when you're cooking. So we're going to talk about some tips for how to actually almost recreate that space of being in a shared space, Shelly-Ann. What are some of the activities that we can do while we're dating online, getting to know people, to keep the connection authentic, and to also get a chance to know people better. So I came across an article online which spoke about going on a grocery run together, even virtually. So you're on your phone, right? The person might be on FaceTime video or audio, whichever one works, or WhatsApp video, whatever. The person there, Trelawney or Mobile, you there, Centan or New York, whatever, however it goes. And you're going to go. I find that seeing how people shop and seeing how people shop for food can tell you a lot about a person. So it might sound very simple, but it's a very easy way to get to know the other person better. Oh, you don't like like mackerel? Why? Mackerel are poor people food. You say, okay, I see, right? We can learn a lot about a person's upbringing. Why are you only buying one pack of tissue? When you know, say by time month end come again, you're going to need another one. Or because you try conserve. But you're not conserved by buying 4 one time, because you're going to use 8. You have to go spend gas and come back for the other 4. Just buy the 8 and done. You get to know people's mindset by seeing how they shop and how they budget money. Shelly, what are your thoughts on that activity, on that kind of approach? You're muted.
Well, I like the idea of scheduling activities that you can do together, but I don't know how I personally feel about the grocery run. What I've actually been doing online since this whole COVID thing started is maintain my friendships. One of my best friends, she lives in Mississippi, and we are on the phone almost every day, and we cook together, and whenever I go somewhere and buy food that she really, really like, and I send her a video of it, she cuss me and tell me all kind of things. But she likes those kind of things because, you know, it's a little bit of Jamaica that she gets to revel in,
Experience.
and, you know, some of those kind of things. So I think that, you know, your long distance relationship, even outside of the global pandemic that we are in right now and can't imagine us being out of, requires us to do those kind of things. It might be corny, do corny things. Let us embrace the corn.
Yes.
Have a Scrabble off. You know, if you're into that, I'm into the written word and stuff like that. So I love a Scrabble off. So when you have when playing a Scrabble game and you put all a word where first I see the word, it ends up being a half an hour debate about this word, and it's very interesting. And, you know, it helps us to keep our conversations outside of, I miss you too. And, you know, so there's a lot more substance to what is going on. And you can do things like share music that you like. I don't know how many of you paying attention to Versus, but outside of the Beenie Man particular one, I've been watching Versus since the first one with Swiss Beats and Timbaland, when they were playing Jay-Z for Jay-Z, the songs that they both produced. And it was amazing. And then Erykah Badu and Jill Scott. And so, you know, find things that you're both interested in and indulge in those kind of things. One of the things that I encourage couples do, whether them distance or not distance, is they should dedicate their time to learn something together. Set out some time for that. Even if you live in the same house or not, learn something that the two will never know how to do together. And it can be a really nice adventure, or you can stuck at it, or you can get really good at it. Either way, it's something amazing that you both can benefit from at the end of the day. And that will help to kill some of the monotonous time that you spend together if you live together. Because what Karim said is that I talk to a lot of couples who want to kill each other because they're in each other's face all day. Like one couple, the guy realized that his wife is a slob. Like she eats with her mouth open. He never noticed that before because the only time him see her eat her when them dress up nice and go out. But now them they're together all the time. She not put on no things. She just be in her big old slab herself, lay down in the bed with the food on her chest while she watch Netflix. And he's like, oh my God, what is this? So, you know, they're just experiencing certain parts of each other for the first time. So what you can do is to control your time that you spend together and make dates. Treat it like an emergency. Tell the kids that I am not available Friday nights at 8.
I'm dating daddy.
And Friday at 8, you do something together and you can go dance too. One thing that you can do together, it have sound clash. Have the same sound clash on your computer, on YouTube, and choose the artist and play cartel for cartel, black cartel versus Latin cartel, and have a clash and drink something while you're at it. So it doesn't have to be so formal. It doesn't have to be something that you plan out and make it very difficult. Just make it fun, because listen, we talk a lot about important things in relationship. We talk about trust. We talk about communication. We talk about all of these things, and the fun is the glue that's going to keep it together when you find each other annoying. So find ways to have fun together, please and thanks.
Thank you very much.
I just want to add a little thing. I'm glad Shelly mentioned, you know, like doing stuff together. If you long distance, there's certain, I use an app called Elevate, another one, Duolingo. You can learn languages on Duolingo. Elevate is where you do brain games. Both of you can test each other. If you guys read, if you love to read, you get a joint Kindle app. You can see their progress. They can see your progress. Listen audible. There are many things that you can play chess online. There are many things that you can do. Everything is online. So, I mean, it's not that different. It's just that you're not physically there. But you can see how the person engages, how they think, and you start competing against each other. Hey, I reached this high score in Duolingo or something. I play Scrabble or whatever the case may be. I learned this language today. I can tell you something in French. We can have a whole conversation in French or in Spanish. And that's a different dynamic. You're seeing how that person moves, how they can adjust, what their learning habits are. You see the type of growth. You see if it's somebody that you can grow with, because if somebody is willing to learn an extra language, what else are they willing to do within a relationship? So you get to see a lot of things. So these are, I mean, those are practical apps or whatever you can use. One is Elevate, Duolingo, Kindle, Audible, Scrabble. You can just download them, pair them up with your partner, and you guys do whatever you want to do.
I love it. Carla, I'm going to jump right over to you with the Carla Rock. But before we make you start talking the last things them, let me ask our tech team to launch our post-class poll, because we want to know if we want to learn anything or so. We want to learn if anybody's mindset has shifted, because we're curious to see, how the conversation has impacted you. So we'll ask them to launch that, and then Carla is going to talk to us about what else we can do to keep and maintain, to build and maintain connections. Miss Carla, you're muted. You're muted.
Pardon me, I was taking the poll.
Yes.
I was very diligently answering. So the things that Karim and Shelly have said are so important, and I'm literally going to piggyback on them. The other one thing that I would add is, one of the things that in-person dating does is you see the person, the people them friend, you see them interacting with their friends. And so do that. So you may be in a place that's distant from them, but they still have like a pod of friends and they get together in the same physical space. Take a call with them while their friends are around. Take a call with them while your friends are around, so that, everybody, your friends can read off them vibe. Your best friend can be like, okay, fine, that gets a pass. But also you get to see them in that process of interacting with another person. The other thing is deliberately build intimacy, which means sometimes intimacy can come from something as simple as asking questions. So there are lots of things that are available, like you can find them on YouTube and other little things you can find online. Questions that you can ask your partner. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever watched this thing where I think it's GQ has this series where celebrity couples ask each other questions. So it would be like Lauren London and Nipsey Hussle, Tiana Taylor, Animan Shumpert and stuff. And what's interesting watching it is all of the couples, their body language changes the further they go into the questions. They start moving closer to each other, and there's like an intimacy that develops between them, because it's, oh, you actually know me. You're actually paying attention to me. You are retaining things about me. And I think sometimes asking our partners questions about us, but also just asking them questions like, the one that comes up, if I were a worm, would you still date me? Let's stay away from that one. Let me not think if I ask you. But, you can ask them questions, what kind of elephant would you be? Like, what's the most amazing thing about the universe to you? Like things that will, bring you closer to them by hearing more about them. Also, and the last one I'll say is this: when you're not in the same physical space as somebody, one of the things that you lose is your capacity to care for them, especially, when somebody gets sick and you rub them head and you make like a ginger tea, give them and all of those things. Find ways to care for the person from where you are. If it is that you can get some food delivered to them, do that. If it is that they live in a place where somebody can deliver one little medication, one little HerFlow to them, do that. If you're in with the friends and the friends can act as, your little worker bees, do that. Because one of the things that a long distance relationship can do is that I have a partner, but I feel alone, because those things, the day-to-day things, I have to deal with them without your physical support. So whatever apps are available, whatever can be done online, and whatever people are available to you, get something into the physical space of your partner that reminds them that you have put effort into caring for them.
Listen. And Nadia says you can pray for your partner as well.
You sure can.
Listen, I loved this conversation, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling so full, and I feel like we have done great justice to this topic, to this conversation. And now we're going to see what the audience people themselves, if them agree with me, right? With my presumptuous feeling. So let's see what they have to say. 98% of you have had some kind of mood improvement since class began. That is amazing by itself, okay? Question 2, I feel more prepared to date while this pandemic continues. 92% of you said either yes or sort of. I think that's a big improvement over what we had seen initially, right? The third one says, I am now more open to virtual dating and long distance relationships. 67, how much that? My math's gonna get a little weak. 77% of you said either yes, sort of, or well, 11% of you said no. So a large percentage of you are now more open, is what that boils down to, right? To either of these modalities. Number 4, I feel more equipped to navigate dating in general. 95% of you say yes, right? Great tips from Karim, Carla, and Shelly. And finalmente, I received what I expected from this class. How much is that now? 97% of you said either totally or mostly. And I feel like that's an amazing accomplishment for all of us. I just want to throw over to thank individually Karim, Ellis, Carla Moore, and Shelly-Ann for showing up so, I don't know, just nice. Good energy, good vibe, and amazing insights, importantly, not only about the specific issue of online dating, but about how to engage generally, how to grow, and how to choose partners that will fit us as we're on this journey. I love it. The audience is thanking us. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Novia. This is the last class in season 2 of the JN Life class series. I'm hopeful for season 3. I'm excited for season 3. And I want everyone who is on to continue following the JN group on social media. Follow Karim, Carla, and and Sexy-Ann, soon to be Dr. Sexy-Ann, on social so that we can continue engaging, right? And follow me too, please, on White Lotus Blooms, and continue to listen out for when JN Group will do another amazing thing, because they're so amazing. It has been my honor to serve in this capacity for the last 8 weeks, and I fabulously enjoyed closing out with Carla, Karim, and Shelly. Thank you so much. Celia says season 3. Talk to me now, Celia, make we know. Thank you so much, panelists, attendees who come every week and bring a good energy into the space. We love all of you. We appreciate all the familiarity we built up. Thank you so much. And for the giveaway, the question for the giveaway for the final Amazon gift card is this. What is the name of Shelly-Ann Weeks' foundation? What is the name of her foundation? What is the name? Oh my God, Georgia ran in and got it in a second. So somebody said Flow. No, it's not Flow. It's the HerFlow Foundation. Yes. And I am really, really grateful that you took time out to join us. So the Amazon gift card will go to Georgia. Please drop your comments. Sorry, not your comments. Please drop your contact information. Send it an email to the JN group to be able to claim your prize. Congratulations to you, Georgia. Thank you so much, everyone. And we leave you with lots of love. And we hope to see you all soon. Take care of the good self. Be good to the people that you love. And we'll see you soon. Bye. Vivian almost had perfect attendance. Thank you for coming every single week, everybody. Until next time, much love. Take care, guys.